Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Awards Virtual Forum, today featuring UPS and InfoPro, which teamed up to develop a flexible leadership curriculum and provides clear development roadmap for UPS supervisors and managers. I'm Claude Werder of Brandon Hall Group, and I'm your host today as we continue this series of 30-minute forums to recognize winners of the 2012 Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards. I'm honored to have with us today Jerry Corcoran, the project leader for UPS, and Arun Prakash, Executive Vice President at InfoPro. Congratulations to Jerry, Arun, and their teams, which won a Gold Award in the 2012 Excellence Awards for Best Custom Content in the Learning and Development category. And I also want to thank InfoPro for sponsoring this virtual awards forum. Before we get started, a few words about Brandon Hall Group and our awards program. We're a preeminent research-based advisory and analyst firm that empowers excellence in organizations. And we cover topic areas that provide strategic insights for executives and practitioners responsible for learning, talent, growth, and business results within their organizations. Our awards program, now in its 19th year, recognizes excellence in learning, talent, sales and marketing, and technology. The 2013 awards for Learning, Talent Management, and Sales and Marketing closed last month, and the Technology Awards open in 30 categories on June 4th, with applications closing on September 16th. For more information, you can go to the awards website listed on the slide or contact awards@brandonhall.com. Now for today's event, all attendees will receive the PowerPoint slides and the event recording within the next couple days. And during the event, we welcome and encourage your questions. And we reserve 5 to 10 minutes for them. All you have to do to ask a question is use the question space on the right-hand side of your GoToMeeting screen. Just type your question in and hit the send button. And so we also wanted to get your input on a couple of polling questions before we get started. And our first question is, what type of leadership program do you have in place now? So we want to get a kind of a sense of where you all are with your leadership program. So what kind of leadership program do you have now? Is it instructor-led training, e-learning, virtual classroom, blended, or other? And I think I have the wrong poll question up. Sorry about that. I've already launched it, so let's go to this one, sorry. What audiences have leadership, what audiences have access to this leadership program, to your leadership programs? So we're going to do this a little backwards, sorry. Is it part-time employees, supervisors and managers, directors and above? Is it 2 and 3, or all of the above? Part-time, supervisors and managers, and directors and above. And the answers are coming in. Give it a few more seconds before we close it. So about more than 40% of you open it to supervisors and managers and directors above. Nobody opens it to part-time employees. And about a third of you open it to all of the above, supervisors, directors, and part-time employees. Okay, so we'll close that. And then the first one was, what type of leadership program do you actually have? And what type of program is in place now? Is it instructor-led training, e-learning, virtual classroom, blended, or something else? I'll give you a few minutes, a few seconds rather. Instructor-led, e-learning, virtual, blended, or something else? Seems to be heavy between instructor-led and blended, with just a small percentage purely e-learning. So it's about 41%, somewhere around 40% for instructor-led and 50% for blended. And we'll close the results now. You can see them there. And we'll move on. Thanks for those answers. That's kind of helpful to know that. gives us a sense where everybody is with the programs. And now let's move on to the main event. And together, UPS and their development partner, InfoPro, reimagined leadership development training and designed and developed 53 e-learning courses wrapped within a virtual UPS environment. This blended solution integrates web-based, virtual, and instructor-led training while connecting learning with existing assets, learners with existing assets and complementary resources. So Jerry Corcoran of UPS will start with an overview, and then we'll move into a review of the flexible leadership curriculum, learn how UPS improved e-learning engagement, and then Jerry and Arun will talk about how to support training, share some lessons learned, and then we'll open it up for your questions. So Jerry, thanks for sharing all this with us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Claude. Hello, everyone. This is Jerry Corcoran. As Claude mentioned, our challenge was to develop a flexible leadership curriculum. We wanted it to be engaging, very high impact, and provide a development roadmap for our management employees. Our goals for the redesign were to improve our return on investment for our leadership programs, add precision to our training effort, expand the reach of development to more employees so that it would be on demand 24/7, and a large component of it delivered online, and to deliver the right training at the right time, meaning that we can address the needs of our new and existing leaders, as well as changes in roles and responsibilities. This curriculum was designed to reach nearly 40,000 supervisors and managers in 220 countries, and as Claude mentioned, InfoPro was selected to be one of our partners in this effort. Okay. A few of our key design objectives for the program were to make it highly flexible and very interactive, give our learners the ability to practice and demonstrate their learning while they're actually in the program, in the learning, have access to support materials both in the courses as well as post-training on the job, and to customize the program to their needs, each individual learner. The complete curriculum includes 50+ individual online courses. There are also live virtual classrooms and an instructor-led component and an informal collaborative learning site. Today we're going to focus on the e-learning component. So from UPS University, a learner who is new to their role may choose from a recommended learning plan based on their role. So a new supervisor might have a plan with 16 recommended courses to choose from. However, if that supervisor also has direct reports, they would have an additional group of courses focused on developing others. Learners can create their own individual development plan based on their needs and their level of experience. It could be assigned a plan by their manager, and they can take all or a portion of the recommended courses. The point is that we're not trying to fit everyone into the same mold, nor do we want them to treat these development opportunities as a one and done, meaning I just need to take this course and then I can forget about it. Now let's take a look at the individual courses. Okay, so there's a basic template for all of the courses. We call it the shell. At the bottom of this slide, you can see the basic elements of the shell and the flow of most of the courses. We'll discuss some of these elements in more detail as we go through this presentation. Learners can choose to proceed through the training in the sequence it's presented, but they also have complete freedom of navigation so that they can bypass some elements as desired. The design allows us to introduce a variety of media elements to the program. Having this consistent structure in place, the shell, improved our development time as we developed additional courses, but even better, it's intended to make learners feel comfortable in any of these courses. They can get right into the content they desire because they know how to operate in this environment. Now within this shell, there's 3 main environments called centers that the learners can move through. These make up the virtual UPS campus. They're the same for each course, and they make the course navigation more intuitive and help to increase user acceptance.
Yeah, hi, this is Arun, and welcome everybody. I represent InfoPro Learning, and would like to interject here on the shell itself. as Jerry mentioned, one of the global components was the virtual UPS campus. So these Welcome Center, Virtual Learning Center, and the Performance Center. We actually 3D modeled the three campuses, campus locations with appropriate props, and they used them throughout. This not only helped in ensuring reusability of this, but also proved to be quite scalable, apart from being cost-effective compared to doing live stage shoots in UPS offices. From a developer standpoint, these requirements were very unique in terms of designing and developing a worthy course player with different features in it and integrating various external components within the course. The basic engine was created using Flash and XML. The core player was designed and developed only once. All features and functionalities were created as separate components, enabling scalability, and all content, which includes the text, the media, the graphic that you see here, was treated as dynamic and picked up from external XML files. One of the design aspects that we identified right at the beginning was to establish all global components, both at a feature level and at a media level. This helped us increase the reusability of various components developed. In fact, course-dependent or non-global elements were also identified, which needed to be used with slight variations in different courses. Yeah, Jerry?
Jerry?
Jerry, you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I had the mute button on. Within the courses, there's a number of unique features. They include the virtual digital assistant, which you see here at the bottom of the screen with the little red box on it. This is, as we call it, the VDA. It contains the leadership toolkit, which is one of the most used tools in the courses. There are some other tools which we'll talk to on some of the following slides. But in this leadership toolkit, we give them access to resources, job aids, dimensional leadership information, and also character bios, and they'll interact with these characters as they go through the courses.
Yeah, and as you see here, the virtual digital assistant was designed in such a way that it slides up and down off the screen as needed. It helps us maximize the space for instructions and provide more breathing space on the screen. When the learner selects the VDA, it slides up on the screen and gives them or him or her access to, in this example, the components of the leadership toolkit.
Now let's take a look at the Virtual Learning Center, which includes a variety of types of activities, including traditional course activities, videos, and access to outside resources such as white papers. The idea is to encourage our learners to consider the broad universe of resources to support daily job performance, or when they're trying to solve problems.
Yeah, from a media perspective, we use a blend of 3D and two-dimensional images. While the static, or rather immovable objects, as we call it, like the virtual UPS campus, were modeled in 3D to make them as close to real life as possible, we used photographs of people with different poses and emotions as the actual UPSers. This combination helped us achieve a very realistic learning environment. Again, this pool of UPSers was reused in different scenarios, and the characters were pulled dynamically depending on the need.
Most of the courses also include scenarios. These are short vignettes that are used to check for knowledge and also allow some practice and demonstration. They include the UPS characters, with each with their own history and their work styles, and also some virtual customers as needed. And they ask learners to make decisions and evaluate the outcome or the impact of those decisions. There are some additional features in these scenarios that we'll talk about in a moment, such as a lens, which provides feedback about your impact on a person, and also a dashboard that provides feedback about your impact on business results.
Yeah, we'll talk about lens and dashboard in a moment, but this is one of the examples where a 3D environment, including relevant props, in the background was used. So what you see in the background is actually 3D, and how a photograph, notice how a photograph of the actor in a specific pose in the foreground. So we just use that photograph, and the usage of a bubble to depict a not on-screen actor was used to simulate a specific scenario. So we used these photographs in appropriate places.
Most of the courses also include simulations. The simulations are longer, much more immersive stories, and in this case there's tree and branch logic so that each learner can really pick their own path. They make decisions and then they evaluate the outcome and the impact of their decisions. At each point there's at least three possible choices that range from least effective to most effective. There's immediate feedback at all of these decision points. And like the scenarios, they also use the reoccurring characters with their history and their work styles, virtual customers, and they include the lens and the dashboard.
In fact, the interesting part here was that these simulations that you see here were created in a completely different environment, not using Flash and XML at all. And the challenge from the shell perspective was to make sure that these simulations were integrated in the course, which is like a shell within an existing shell, and the course player needed to communicate with the simulation. So once done, the data on performance of the learner in the simulation was then tracked by the player, in two tiers.
I mentioned the lens feature earlier. Here's an example within a simulation. So as you can see here, the lens is brought up over the individual space, and it shows what that person might be thinking in reaction to something you said or some choice that you made. If there's multiple characters on the screen, then each one of them may have their thoughts on what you've done or said as a learner, your choices.
Yeah, and as Jerry mentioned, like the dashboard, the lens is available in all scenarios, and basically this lens is a very interesting feature. This was a dynamic object on the screen, which had a variable state. The lens would appear when needed, and it would interpret the situation, and depending on the situation, show a different message for the same actor. In fact, in screens where there were multiple people, it would recognize each actor and give appropriate messages.
What you're seeing here on this screen is the dashboard. This provides learners.
Claudia, to go back one screen, please. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry.
There you go. Thank you, Claude. The dashboard provides learners with feedback about the impact of their choices on the business results. In UPS, all management employees establish a quality performance review measures that are reviewed semi-annually and annually. These measures support the balanced scorecard that you see referenced here in the dashboard. In this case, the learner made a less effective decision, which puts most of these elements in the yellow zone.
Yeah, and as Jerry mentioned, the dashboard, like the lens, is available on all scenarios, simulations, and their activities, and dynamically shows the learner's performance in various performance parameters. All the performance data were stored in temporary variables and then used to show the status of 8 measures in the dashboard, although these measures were predefined by the UPS.
And here you're looking at the last of the 3 centers, which is called the Performance Center. From here, the learners identify 3 areas of focus. So based on what they've learned in the course, what do they think that they need to focus their attention on when they go back to the job, their on-the-job performance? Then, based on those areas of focus, they can select resources that will help them be successful. Those resources can include job aids, tools, such as checklists, additional training that they may want to take, knowledge documents, and also get a link to our informal learning site where all of the resources in the courses would be available. They can document all of these choices on the form that you see here, which is called the SEED form. This is a printable roadmap for their development beyond the course, and it's unique to each learner.
Again, because all of these data is coming from external XML files, all of the links in the Performance Center are dynamically created and are low maintenance apart from being highly scalable. This is designed in such a way that more additional information assets can be linked than what is necessarily available right now. So UPS can keep on adding more links here.
Okay, and finally, we had a firm belief that an important part of an engaged and effective leadership is understanding yourself and those who work for you. So our most important feature in these courses is the use of a behavioral model that helps our leaders understand how to engage with the people who work for them to meet organizational goals most effectively. There's many models that you could choose from. In this case, we used the William Marston DISC module. So first, we asked leaders to complete a self-assessment. This model, the actual assessment itself, was built into one of the primary recommended courses. We then explored the strengths and challenges of each work style. Then we identified how to maximize or mitigate each of these styles in different situations requiring leadership skills. And this information all played out in all the scenarios and simulations so that the learner needed to access the knowledge from the course, and then as they were making their choices, really think about who am I interacting with and what do I know about this person. So they came to know the characters and then learn how to maximize or mitigate the individual styles of the people they were interacting with, and of course of their own styles. Finally, we supported the learning with learning job aids, tools, and internal resources. Okay. Claude, you can keep going until you want to get to the next slide, which is post-training support.
These are all sample screenshots so that you can get an idea on how we actually made this.
Okay. One more click.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. For post-training support, the informal learning site is a continuous learning tool. It gives learners somewhere to go when they have questions. There's activities within the courses that send learners out to this site to get information to use within the course. In the Performance Center, there's links, in each course there's links out to this performance site. And of course, every resource that the learner encounters in the courses is also available on this site. So that includes job aids, videos, links to other courses, and as you can see here on this screen, within the informal learning site, there's discussion boards as well. Okay, Claude, you can go ahead to the next slide.
Okay, sorry. It's going a little slow.
Okay, so finally, based on our experience with this effort, as you can imagine, we learned a few lessons. So I have a few key recommendations that will help you to ensure a smooth process in your efforts to build a virtual learning environment. First of all, we use just the first course as a prototype, and often that works well. However, with the level of complexity for this design, we discovered that really we should have used 3 courses as part of the prototyping. In the first 3 courses, we would have encountered most of the questions we would need to resolve. And then once you have the kinks worked out in these 3 courses, then you can move on at a faster paced development process for the remaining courses. We also had some very innovative design ideas in these courses, which meant that no one had an exact picture in their mind about how it should look. So it was much easier to communicate these ideas with detailed visuals rather than text descriptions or trying to describe them in conversation. So sometimes our new idea was a blend of several other ideas, again, much more easily communicated with visuals. Okay? And then finally, if you're using multiple vendors, I recommend that you centrally manage all of the communication between yourself and your vendors. In our effort, everyone worked very well together to resolve technical questions and also to decide what methods would be used. But it was still easier to track process and the discussion, and for me to know what was decided and why when I was on all of these calls and in all of the communications. Okay, so with that, we are finished with our presentation, and I'm going to turn the ball back to you, Claude, so that you can present the questions.
Okay, and we do have a couple questions, and we do have time to take more questions if people want to type any more in. So one question for Arun would be, how do you handle maintenance for a program like this?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Paul. One of the key design aspects that I talked about was using Flash and XML, Flash in the front end and XML and back end with all the data coming in from XML. This helped us, one is distinguishing the content area apart from the code itself. So updates were very, very easy. So in fact, all the minor updates, GPS, they don't have to come back to us as a vendor to make those changes, and UPS can do it themselves. And even if there are changes at a more which involves a little bit of design, it still can be done very easily because all that we need to do is to update new XML files. The maintenance was pretty simple.
Okay, here's a question from Marion. How does a learner know where to go when he or she enters the Welcome Center?
Okay, very good question, Miriam. When the learner first comes into the course, there is the traditional next navigation through the course, but there's also a help screen that lets them know that they can bring up the menu and really navigate to anywhere on that menu. And for the curriculum itself, we built an introductory course, a very short, easy, nothing too lengthy, just to give them the picture of how the entire curriculum works. And between that and when they actually go into the course, and they can get help there, there's a tour that the coach, you may have noticed in some of the pictures that there was an individual that had a UPS polo shirt on. Well, each course had a coach inside the course. And the coach started to talk to you when you first entered the course. And they would say, if you haven't been in one of these courses before, you might want to take the virtual tour. And so that would let them know how they could navigate. And then, of course, when they pulled the VDA, the virtual digital device up, that had a menu on it as well where they could navigate around. It also showed them their completion status. So that as they were jumping around, they could see exactly what they had completed and had not.
Okay, and this next question I think you touched on a little bit, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Maybe you can add some detail. Did you use an off-the-shelf? Sorry, hold on here. Did you leverage off-the-shelf content? How long did it take to create the entire program, and how many courses were created?
Well, in this particular program, we created about 53 courses. And yes, we did leverage off-the-shelf content. Sometimes within the course, depending on the provider, we actually had the content in the course, and in some cases we linked out to the library of existing courses. So you might be progressing through a course, and we really would like you to see a video of someone discussing the topic that you're learning about. They could click on the link, and in some cases the video could run right there. In other cases, it would pop up in a separate window, and they could access it from a different source. Of course, if you're going to do this, you do need to be very careful about your legal rights for using others' material and how you use it and with what frequency. There's different questions you have to think about, and just make sure that you really do have not only rights to use it, but in what ways you can use it.
Now, was it off the shelf for simulation platform as well? That's another question.
It's a software package that we leased or purchased, and with the vendor provided training. They also created some of the simulations for us. But then we participated in an apprenticeship where our own internal resources learned how to build the simulations. So in the second phase of the project, we were able to build our own simulations. But we did use a vendor-provided tool.
And Sherry, what about when you're using these immersive methods and techniques? What did you find? Which part engaged the audience the most? Are you there?
I think the leadership, the DISC leadership work styles, and each individual having their particular personality and work style, and having to think about how you interact with them and the best way to make the use of your resources was something that we got a lot of feedback on, saying that learners found that very engaging.
And I think you might have touched on this too, but just to, in terms of how long this whole process took from beginning to end in building this?
The entire curriculum took us about 2 years to develop, from beginning to end. Beginning meaning really taking it from the analysis phase and the original thought phase all the way through to launched and available for learners.
Yeah, but Claude, you would need to
It's
understand
our first
that.
time doing.
Sorry, Jerry, go ahead, please.
Well, oh, that's okay. I was just going to say.
You're kind of breaking up, Jerry.
That, you know, it was our first time developing.
Yeah, Jerry, you're breaking up. Claude, yeah, so Jerry, would you mind repeating that again, please?
Certainly. What I was saying is that while our first effort took what probably seems like a while of 2 years, it was all really brand new for all of us. So the next time around, developing the same kind of courses would be considerably faster.
Yep, and Claude, we also need to understand that what you're seeing right now is the WBD, the e-learning part of it. The program itself was much more than that. There was a lot of other components as well in it.
Right, right. Well, it's been great hearing about it, and unfortunately we're out of time now. But I do want to thank Jerry and Arun for a great presentation, and thank you to all of you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We appreciate you being with us, and we hope you got a lot out of it. As I said earlier, you will get copies of the slides and the recording in a few days. And I'll say goodbye now and wish everybody a good day, and we'll hopefully see you on another award-winning forum or webinar very soon. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.